Well, good morning. How are you all today? I'm going to talk kind of quietly because everybody else is still asleep. Most of the bedrooms are upstairs, but the master's down here, and I don't want to wake up Kelly. Um, it's a beautiful day out there. Did I say welcome to American Reversion? Welcome to American Reversion. I'm going to talk about what's going on in our country today, and well, there's a lot, isn't there? There's new stuff happening every day. And there's a couple of things for us to think about here. Grab us something to sip. We're down at the cabin, so I don't have all of the mugs down. This is a new one, by the way. This is a new design. It's not available yet. It's the new Stonemont design, Where Life is Good. And then, of course, down here, and I know this isn't the Integrative Preparedness channel, but a lot of you are with us over there too. And down here it says, Prepare well today, live well tomorrow. I'm still going to do some tweaking on the on the colors of the fonts and font size and things like that, but this will probably be available in the next month or so. We'll just kind of see how that goes. Let me have a sip here and we'll get started. So today's going to be the start of the trucker convoy. The protest that's headed down to Eagle Pass. I think they start today, is that right, out in California? I'm getting ready to come on vacation. By the way, I'm on my annual decompression week that I take every last part of January, first part of February. It's the fall and the holidays are busy for us, and after that I just like to take a week or so and just relax, and I'll spend it here in the cabin hanging out and walking in the woods and sitting by the fire at night and thinking about the world and the year ahead. And it really, I love the focus that it gives me. And I come out of this rejuvenated and re-energized. So anyway, today is the start of that convoy, and I was interested. I read, even though I'm on vacation, I'll still keep up with the news and keep up on the videos and things like that. But I noticed that this trucker car convoy is calling itself the Army of God. I find that interesting. It's easy to pass that stuff off as being dramatic and everything like that. But when we realize that our troubles really are spiritual, because they are moral, and the morality comes from God, and anybody that wants to dispute that, and I know that many will, well, that's on them. But our problem is a spiritual problem in this country, and until we get that fixed, is not coming back. Interesting, though, and what I'm going to get to here is that they're calling this the Army of God, and one of the organizers, explained it that we are surrounded by evil, and I'm not one of those who comes on and pounds a lot about evil. Doesn't mean that I don't think that. It's just that's just not my way, but that is, we are surrounded by evil, and anybody who disputes that, I think, is not seeing with their eyes open. If we look at the problems in our world, the root is evil. But interesting, and with that is I happened to, and every day I like to start the day with reading the Bible, and so I opened, and today I did it on my laptop. The Word of God is the Word of God, whether it comes in a book or online, or in our hearts, mainly in our hearts. And I opened it to Isaiah. I'm going to start Isaiah. Don't worry, this is not going to become a sermon. But if you want a book to read in these times, read Isaiah. Well, I'm going to start in the first chapter. I'm going to read you a few verses. Not going to be a long time. Don't worry, it's not going to be like in church, but you should think about this, because it applies to what's going on here, and it applies to our solution. Okay, we talk about wanting an American reversion. We can't do it ourselves. Even the founding of our nation, the founding fathers understood that it was providence. It was God who led them and blessed their efforts, and then blessed this country for a long time until we got away from from that and started thinking that we were not you, but as a country, as most of the people started thinking it was all about us instead of God. So I'm going to start with the first chapter and starting with the second verse, because the first is just talking about this is a vision of Isaiah. So starting with the second, hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord hath spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, my children. He's talking to Israel, but he's also talking to us. And they have rebelled against me. Now, here again, I know that this isn't about you, or, well, who of us have not, really? Okay, so we're not blameless in this situation, but talking about the country as a whole. He's talking about Israel in Isaiah, but we can apply this to America now. And if you're listening from, Canada, Australia, Europe, probably applies to your country. Well, as a matter of fact, I know it applies to your country too. So the ox, think about that again. I brought up my children, they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel into anger. They are gone away backward. Why should ye be stricken any more? I mean, why do you want to continue down this path? Why do you want to continue to be punished as a result of your behavior? Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head, there is no soundness in it. Isn't that the truth? But wounds and bruises and putrefying sores, they have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Boy, does that not nail it, right? Your land, listen to this, strangers devour it in your presence, and it is desolate, as overthrown by strangers. Man, does that not say it? Well, we have a verse following this. We're going to skip one and go to verse 9. And we have identified the problem. Well, the Lord's identified the problem. Now, here's the solution. In verse 9. Except the Lord of hosts has left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. A very small remnant. We look around us and we see the destruction of our country as a result of spiritual decay, and that is the problem. And a reversal of that is the solution. And the remnant is the vehicle. There are a number of people who still hold to the truth and the dream of what this country was supposed to be. And but our voices aren't heard because we don't speak loudly enough. We don't speak up. We don't raise Cain, the other side does. It spoke very clearly in there. We as a country rebelled. Maybe not you, not me. I mean, we are all sinners, but we as a country have rebelled against the God who blessed the founding of this country, and the destruction of it is certain as a result. If you are a religious person at all of the Judeo-Christian ethic, you know that the Old Testament is one long story about a people who were blessed by God, who turned away from God, and then God had to punish them, correct them, to bring them back. They finally came back after their punishment. And in many cases, that punishment was horrible. How about 400 years of slavery, right? 40 years in the desert. And after their punishment, they came back to God, and God forgave them and took them back. And then they got to thinking again they were all that, and so they rebelled against God again, and they turned away from Him, and He punished them. And you see, it's just that's if you want a synopsis of the Old Testament, besides being a foreshadowing of Christ, that's the lesson. And the lesson is that we are not good enough to do things ourselves. It is God's whose hand directs these things, and by us turning to Him and asking Him to guide us, and then us following it, that's the road to redemption. Whether it's a person or a country, and that's the only hope for this country. Now, we can't sit back and just say, okay, Lord, take care of things, take care of it, because, He uses people to take care of things. He's going to speak to you, and He's going to speak to me, and He's going to speak to all these truckers and everybody out there who wants a return and who is willing to turn back. I guess this has turned into a sermon, hasn't it? Well, so be it. He's going to use everybody who's willing to turn back to Him and say, okay, Lord, use me. Use me for this. God bless these truckers and keep them safe. And I know a lot of people out there say, well, this is a setup, and it could be, or maybe it's not, but it still turns out to be who knows what it could turn out to be. It could turn out to be a huge mess. It could turn out to bring a lot of problems on the people who are participating in it. But if it brings about the attention of more and more people to the problems, well, that's what has to be done. We know a couple of our people. One of our folks, Mad Infidel Prepper. He says he's down there. I imagine that maybe more than a few of you are down there. If you are, God hold you in His hands and keep you safe, and bless your efforts, and thank you for doing it. But the rest of us who are not out there have a job to do as well, and that job is to pray, to ask God to strengthen us in our resolve, to use us as His instruments, to open the ears of others as He directs us to speak, and to promote His way and His will, that others will listen. The battle we're in, and here's where those who want to rise up and go to a revolution and things like that. And I've always said that's not where we want to go if we can at all avoid it. Now sometimes it can't be avoided. Sometimes it cannot. And do I think that the American Revolution was directed by God? Well, it's not for me to say what the will of God was, but that's my feeling. Okay, and if I'm wrong, I ask Him to forgive me on that. But if we can help it, we don't want that. We don't want it to get that far. If it does, it does. Yeah. To be honest, the whole the story of the Old Testament was one big long story of slaughter too. And it is what it is, right? So anyway, that is. I didn't really mean for this to get into a sermon like that, but I let God take me where He will. And there you have it. We live in a time of as Reagan called it, a time of choosing. Each person has to choose what they're going to do, what they're going to be a part of, whether they're going to stand up or not, how they're going to stand up, and how they are going to, how much they're willing to allow themselves, to let themselves to hope that they will be used as an instrument in a bringing this country back to the way it's supposed to be. Because even though our country wasn't perfect, it's never been perfect, And those people who will always point out one or two things that was a problem. I'm not minimizing those problems by saying one or two things, because they're not inconsequential. I mean, but people will bring up, a couple of things that America had problems with. Yes, we do. There's never been a country that didn't have problems. And I certainly, I could make a long list of things I have problems with America about. Let me show you Bob here. Let me show you. I named him Bob. See Bob? That's who I drink coffee underneath in the mornings when I'm down here. And Bob reminds me of a time. I just put this picture up over on the comment, what was it called, on the Integrative Preparedness Patreon channel, on the daily comment where I started out, and then the community section, and everybody, all the patrons can make comments throughout the day and talk about whatever they want to. It's really great. By the way, I'm going to start it here on American Reversion. Maybe I'll start it while I'm down here. But I said over there, Bob reminds me of a time when his ancestors covered the prairie like a cloud, and millions. They said that the ground would thunder when the buffalo herds, the bison herds, would go across the prairie, and his ancestors were in the millions, and our ancestors were very few in comparison. Let's take another look at Bob. But look what happened. Look what happened. How are things now, right? A lot different, aren't they? Yeah. Well, Bob didn't know how to fight what was coming his way, and didn't know what was coming his way. And in some cases, I'd say that Bob kind of shows a lot of us haven't been paying attention. We didn't know what was coming our way. We never thought that those few people who were essentially communists in their political thinking would ever overpower those of us who really held to the American values, right? But Bob never felt that these little bitty things with these little bitty sticks that went bang would ever be able to overcome his millions. But Bob learned, and I think we're learning. Get back to Isaiah, and where it reminds us that our country, our cities are on fire, our country is devastated. I mean, think about what that means. And we can say right now it's devastated with pesticides. It's devastated with drought. It's devastated with large conglomerates and foreigners buying up farmland. It's devastated by the government controlling what farmers or ranchers or whatever can do with their own product. It's devastated with drugs through not just our cities, but all of our small towns and rural areas. Our country is devastated. There's no arguing that. And but let's also remember that, like I said, except God allowed a remnant to remain, we would have become like Sodom and Gomorrah. And some would argue that we are like Sodom and Gomorrah, except remember, that story was pretty much everyone was not just sinners like all of us are, but had given themselves over, and God gave them over to reprobate hearts, and to where they could, to them good was evil and evil was good, and they could see nothing the right way. I think that God has retained a remnant here in our country. It's up to us to stand up and allow ourselves to be used in His way to bring this country back. And that's our hope and our will. So here again, I didn't mean this to become a sermon, but there's no way that you separate what's going on in our country from from the spiritual realm and from God's will, because it was His blessings that established and built this country, and it's His hand that will direct what happens next. So, with that thought, I'm going to continue the relaxation of my day. I'll check the news, see what's going on. I wish the best for those truckers going, and everybody else going. You know, not everybody going down as a trucker. There's a lot of people going down in their cars and stuff just to be a part of it. This is going to be something to see. I hope, well, I won't say that. I was going to say I hope it doesn't result in violence, because it's, you know, I tell you, if you haven't been involved in violence, you don't really realize. Well, I'm not going to get into that, but if it does, it does. You know, what will be, and what is necessary is necessary. So I just hope that everybody stays safe, and let us know if you're down there at the border, MIP and any of you others down there. Send us put a comment down here and let us know how you're doing and what's going on down there, because hey, the rest of the country, you know, hangs in the balance. So with that, I'll ask you, if you would, share this video. We're getting a lot of new people joining, but you know, part of what we each do what we can do, and what I seem to be doing now is talking and trying to get the message out. And if you'll help with that by sharing this video with as many people as you can, and you know, share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on all the whatever the other things are. I'm not on any of them, and I need to get on them. I know that. I need my son to help me get on them, but help. You know, share them on everything, and say a prayer, and pray for God's guidance, and not just for yourself, but for our country, because America needs a reversion. It needs you to be a part of it. It needs me to be a part of it, but more than that, it needs God to be a part of it. So you all have a good day. God bless you. God keep you, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.